All right, in today's lesson, we're going to talk about how to name compounds. And before we get to that, though, I'm going to start a new feature in the videos. Every day, I'm going to throw a new ion on the video chart. And now, chemistry is really, when you look at it, at the end of the year, you're going to look back and you're going to see chemistry as another language in a way. You're able to say things like, I can say this sentence: sodium thiosulfate plus potassium bromide reacts to form, and go on with that. It almost sounds like a foreign language. And you will be able to talk like that too, but you need to learn the vocabulary. And probably the most important, vital part of the chemistry vocabulary are learning what are called polyatomic ions. And in video before, we talked about what an ion is. If you don't remember, take a second. I won't say the answer right now. If you said an ion is an atom that has gained or lost electrons, you're right. Poly means many, atomic, many atom ion. And the ions we looked at in the last video were just single atoms. Na plus, S2 minus, etc. A polyatomic ion, and you'll be able to use a chart until you get the hang of them. They're not difficult, but it will really help you become a better chemist, which is the goal. So today's polyatomic ion is this. It is a nitrogen that is attached to 3 oxygens. Okay, so this is the ion, and the charge is right here. It's -1. If we were going to if we had a picture of this, we would have an N atom, and then we would have 3 oxygen atoms attached to the N. So these would be O's. And this whole thing would have a charge of 1 minus. Okay? So this is our first polyatomic ion, and what I want you to remember are 2 things. I want you to remember this, its formula, and I also want you to remember its name. It is known as the nitrate ion. Okay, so at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you to remember the NO3 -1 or 1 minus ion, and remember that it's called the nitrate ion. All right, so today's main video topic is naming binary compounds. When we look at the word here, binary means 2. Bi means 2, and we're going to look at, just in this video, type 1 binary compounds. Type 1 binary compounds are compounds that do not involve the transition metals. Okay, binary type 1 compounds do not involve the transition metals. So that doesn't leave us many atoms left that are metals, because it's only this family, family 1, the alkali metals, family 2, the alkaline earth metals, and family 3 that are metallic. Because remember, all of these are either metalloids or nonmetals. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at what this will look like. Okay, here are the rules straight from the textbook for naming type 1 ionic compounds. So again, review with yourself. I won't say the answer again, but an ionic compound contains a metal and a nonmetal. Okay, it contains a cation and an anion. And then last video we had the funny comic strip with the positive ions in the classroom, and then outside were the negative ions. Remember, the positive ions are called the cation. The negative ion is called an anion. Okay, so first of all, the cation is always named first. The anion is named second. We've already done this, so actually this is probably review, but I will go over it again. So if we had an Na+1 ion and a Cl1 minus ion, this is an easy one. You name the cation first, and the cation takes its name just from the elements on the chart. So this would be sodium, and then this would be, and then the anion, you take the name of the element, take the first part of the element name and add "ide." And so this would be sodium chloride. So on the next slide, we're going to practice this. All right, so I'm going to give you some compounds, and we're going to practice naming them, and we'll also practice writing the formulas. So, and you will need your periodic table for this. Sorry, hang on. Whoops. And I'm giving you the charges, but you should be able to look the charges up and know what they are. Remember that you're going to look on the periodic table. And we'll do one more. Let's do... Whoops, I forgot to give you the... And we'll do... Okay. So here we have 3 sets of cations and anions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write the formula for each of these. So remember that when an ionic compound forms, it must be neutral. So if we look at this first one, this oxygen has a charge of 2-. So how many of the rubidium ions, because it has a charge, is it going to take to equal the charge of oxygen? You can think of it that way, or you could just do the crisscross method. Bring the 2 down here, bring the 1 down here, and the formula for this is going to be RB2O, and the name will be, remember cation, we name first, so it's going to be just its name, rubidium. You look on the table, and it's got, the reason it has its name is it has the same color as a ruby, very pretty, beautiful element, metal. And oxygen, so we add I to it, so it's oxide. So this is rubidium oxide. Alright, so let's take a look at the next one. So the next one, we've got a calcium 2+ ion, a phosphorus 3- ion. So we can do the crisscross here, bring the 3 there, bring the 2 there. So this is going to be calcium 3, phosphorus 2, and that's the compound. The name of this now is going to be calcium. Now phosphorus, it's a little tricky to figure out where you're going to throw the "ide" in. Rule of thumb is what sounds the best usually is what the actual name is. And so phosphorus becomes phosphide. Okay, so calcium phosphide. And our last one, and you should be good at this now. I won't spend too much time on this one, but we're going to crisscross the 2 down here, take the 1, bring it down here, and this is going to be... Oh, by the way, today's joke, this is the element that you do to dead people. Anybody know? Anybody? Barium. All right, so we crisscross 1, 2, and then we have BaF2. Now remember, when the number is a 1, we bring the 1 down. We don't have to write the 1 in. You could, but at the chemistry party, it would be pretty embarrassing. And I don't want you to be embarrassed, so don't do it. And then, so naming this is just going to be barium. And this is fluoride. One thing about fluorine, it's Fl, and I always make the mistake. This is not fluorine. This is fluorine. That's an element maybe in your kitchen cabinet. Does not exist in nature. The U comes before the O. I make the mistake. Spelling's not that big of a deal, but it's just something that help you fit in at the chemistry party.